Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by Vitano, with myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Dave Young and Andrew Mount, to look ahead to 7 ITV televised races on Saturday from Newbury and Newmarket as well. So loads to go at. And the lads were in good form last weekend as well, with winners, albeit short-priced ones though. But we did still have 3 winners found on the show. Kick-started with the Oaks Trial at Lingfield, where Andrew and Dave couldn't see beyond Giselle. Now, Andrew was just as confident that Candyman Stan would win the 225, and he did exactly that at 6 to 5. Dave's Popmaster finished 4th at 18 to 1 in the Victoria Cup before another Eydon O'Brien classic trial was landed in the shape of Puppet Master, advised by Andrew, who just held stay true for Dave into 2nd. Now, a couple more places for Andrew, with Houston, who finished 3rd at 17 to 2 in the 315, and at Ascot, then at Jabara was 2nd at 11 to 4 in the 335 at Lingfield. So very well done, lads. Hopefully more of the same this week. Now, an extra little feature from GG. You can now become a YouTube member to get early access to our Sunday videos. So you will also get a shout out on Weekend Watch, and a special thank you to Chris Hensley for becoming a member. We really appreciate that. So link to support us is in the description. So YouTube members are plenty, and nice feature that we've got to go at as well. So loads of exciting things there, lads. Right, we'll kickstart with the action, and we begin at Newbury with the 1250. This is the Sky Sports Racing Aston Park Stakes, a Group 3 contest, 4-year odds and over a mile. For King's Gambit, your 5 to 2 favourite, heading the way here with Vitano, Andrew.
Oh yeah, I was very excited about becoming a Weekend Watch member.
I know.
Very
excited.
Do they get access to our home addresses and telephone numbers so they can abuse us if we tip losers? Is that how it works?
That is the unlockable feature. Yeah, that is in the T's and C's.
Excellent. Yeah, good. Yeah, good race, the Aston Park Stakes, and of course we've got King's Gambit, who we discussed a lot last year. He won the London Gold Cup on this card, and then I suppose unlike some of his esteemed stablemates like Al Kazim and Time Test, he didn't perhaps go on as expected, though he often went off short and ran well in group company afterwards. Now they've put the blinkers on for the first time here. At the prices, he's run about, I think he's 5 to 2 with Batano. I can leave him alone. And the angle with the Aston Park in recent years has to side with the Empires. And they're 4 from 15 in the past 10 years for a profit of £8.34. They've beaten 60% of their rivals. Now, of course, King's Gambit's also been gelded since his last run. Now, geldings in the Aston Park, just 1 from 25 in the past 10 years, 4%, beating only 41% of their rivals. So that's another sort of thing that perhaps counts against him slightly, as it does with our old friend Aasy, who is reliant on genuinely good or faster ground. He should get that here. So I was looking at the bigger price ones. There's a couple of interesting ones for me. One of them is an entire, the 6-year-old Eydon, who of course ran really well in the 2000 Guineas a few years ago, and that was behind. Where's it gone? It's all right. I've got my horse completely mixed up there. Forget I said that about that. Oh no, it's fourth to Caribas, wasn't it? That was in 2022. Now, he was off the track for best part of 18 months after that. Took sort of time to find his form again, but he arrives here at the back of a 2nd place at Southwell. Returned to turf or suit and ran about, was he 14, 16 to 1, something like that, I think. He'd have a squeak. And the other one I quite liked is Tabletalk, who only just went down narrowly to Davina Grace here last time out. So the Colts have got a fairly good record in this race as well. This is a 4-year-old Colt. Tends to struggle left hand when going right-handed, hanging to his left. He's had 4 goes on left-handed tracks in his career: a win, a duck egg in the Derby, another win, and then that 2nd to Davina Grace at this venue. So I think Tabletalk at a big price, coupled with Eydon, will do for me, or Eydon, however you say it.
I think it is Eydon. I think so. I think I've heard that it's a village somewhere. And apparently I could have got this completely the other way around, but I think it is pronounced Eydon. I think you are right with that. 16 to 1 top price with Batano as well. Batano traders have not missed Tabletalk though, 6 to 1 with Batano. So they agree with you, Andrew, clearly that he is the horse who is lurking there in this race. Dave, who'd you like?
I mean, I like Aasy just because I like Aasy. It's nice to see him
Yeah.
back in it, but he is an 8-year-old now. I think the interesting thing with him is I do associate him quite a lot with Newbury. He's had 2 defeats here. I think he's had 4 wins here. But I'm thinking of him like the time of year that he runs. It was 4 years ago now that he took this race when he was still an Ensign. He's been gelded since. But he's 4 from 4 when he's run in April or May. I'm a little disappointed I didn't go in on him last time at Sandown because I don't know what. I thought he was maybe prepping for something else, or I don't know. But then when you've got an 8-year-old and they're just ready to go, maybe they are just ready to go. So I know he's got his quirks and I know he's got his own ideas about doing things, and he's got to give away a £3 penalty to lots of these as well. But he's going to put in a 115 plus performance, take his £3 off. They've all got to be running 112 plus. And I'd say that's on a bad Aasy day. There's loads that are capable of doing it. Like almost every single runner in here could do it. Courage Mon Ami would be probably one of the better horses in the race, but he's not been seen for almost 2 years. But he's been putting in figures of like 120s in there, but surely he's going to need the run. I just found it a tricky one because I could talk about this race for hours and I could whittle it down to a different horse each time. I think the way that it's been priced up though, 4-1 with 3 places up to grabs, I think Aasy feels like one for an interest sake only. So I'm sticking with Aasy to defy some of the stats and etc., but to keep up his good record in April and May.
4-1 with Batano as well, top price about Aasy in here, who's now an 8-year-old, such a character of the game. And for all that, we used to associate Aasy with either winning or absolutely bombing. To be fair to him, he's got very consistent in the last few seasons, hasn't he? So we can't exactly throw that stick at him. Right now, before we move on to our first race at Newmarket, Batano have a horse racing welcome offer. Now get your first stake in free bets up to £40, bet £10 in horse racing, odds of 2-1 or over within 3 days of sign up. Get your first stake credited in free bets up to £40. Click the T's and C's, 18 plus, and please, as always, do remember to gamble responsibly. So new sign up offer there with Batano. Right, we'll move on to the 105 at Newmarket, 0-95 handicap, 4-year-olds and over that specialist trip of 7 furlongs. We have 100 to 30 the field in this one, Dave.
Yeah, it's like a good looking race. I think I had it down as just 2 horses that were on my shortlist. This is before prices came out. They are the first and second favourite, which is pretty boring, isn't it? And that won't really excite viewers. But Physique was a big eye catcher on debut. You know, when you go on the Racing Post comments and they give you the stewards report, this one doesn't even fit in the comments box. There was so much to potentially talk about in there. But it was a run where Dark 30, I think, won that race. He's got a very good like reappearance record. But Oisin Murphy was riding Physique. Was in the open, but they're saying this horse is a bit of a tricky ride and that he needs a bit of cover. But he was just out in the open. Oisin basically wasn't asking him to do anything. Then when there was enough time between the line and him to ask him, but like knowing he wasn't going to get up there, so he's got like the safety and freedom to ask him, he quickened, and then Oisin didn't ride him through the line, but he's saying because he'd already secured his 4th place position, but it stunk as a ride. But this is a horse that isn't very prolific. He's only had 2 wins, one for his first trainer, Paul and Oliver Cole, and then he changed to a different yard, one at the Curragh on heavy ground over 7 furlongs. But both the wins have been over 7. One is a course and distance win. I didn't expect him to be as short as he is, but I suspect, given the fact that he was like a dubious eye catcher on that first run, and then Oisin stayed on him again, and then it was wasn't a bad ride, but it was a bad performance, but almost to warrant why he ran so poorly the first time when he didn't. The strange thing is when Hollydore was on him last time over course and distance, there was only 6 runners in the field. You can barely get any cover in that, and he ran really, really well in there. So like he was one that was definitely for the short list. Would I have him as favourite in here? Probably not. I'd want to be backing him at 8-1, watch him go a favourite and be part of the Pam Slide plot job. But I think I'll probably have to leave him alone at the price. The other one that I did like was Waleefy. Make a bit of a case for William Haggas and Kieran Fannin because they took it a couple of years ago with Montasib. Used to be a 0-105 this race. It has changed for this year to a 0-95. Now, he was fancied on his return over 6 furlongs at Goodwood just 2 weeks ago, but he ran sort of too bad to be through. He won a Class 4 under Kieran in October, I think it was, on good to firm ground on his first handicap at this trip. Almost backed up at Newbury after. That was just 14 days after. And even earlier in his career, he's run well on short turnarounds after. I just don't think he's exposed to some in this. Or I talk about Physique having 2 wins from 20. Waleefy's had nowhere near that sort of number of runs. But then him as a 4-1 poke as a one to take him on. They're both skinny enough, Kate. I don't even think I could give a selection. I see it between those 2, but I wouldn't know which one to like rule over. And they're both pretty short. So either sit it out or we'll just have a reverse forecast.
Either way. I mean, it's one end of a scale to the other, that isn't it? Either sit it out or reverse forecast with Physique and Waleefy. Physique at 130, Waleefy at 4-1. Tricky race, Andrew. How did you see it?
Yeah, funny old one, particularly if you look at the trends as well, because for the last 3 years, this has been a class 2 0 to 105. It used to be class 3 0 to 95, and it is again now. Because we had Montesib won this 2 years ago off 98 and went on to winning Group 1 company. Last year, Carry On won it off 90. Carry the One won it off 99. Ended up signing off with a win in the Balmoral handicap of 104. But it's a much less classy renewal this time around. I like Physique from that stall 9 of 9 draw. I know the stalls were in the centre, but I think Jamie Spencer is going to make the running and bring them across to the near side. Now, this one was ridden by Holly Doyle when keen last time out, and there is a betting system where basically back any horse who was keen under Holly Doyle last time out, now ridden by a different jockey, and you do make a profit. There's much has been written about, a lot of horses run keenly for her, and not. I'm trying to think of the famous Alan King example.
Dragon.
The stayer, but
Scarlet Dragon, Trushan.
Trushan, sorry. Yes.
You put me away there with Scarlet Dragon. So
Sorry.
Physique's 2 wins have come when making all the running. One of them from stall 3 at Galway, where he got the inside rail. Another one at this venue, I think he was drawn 10 of 13 that day. And although he didn't come all the way across to the rail, he was closest to it. So I think Frank's just going to ping out from stall 9 of 9, come across to the near side and attempt to make all, which is how a lot of Pam Sly's winners go about it. So I'm with Physique. Like Dave, I do respect the chances of Waleefy as well, who'll be suited by the step back up from 6 to 7 furlongs. The last time he switched from sprinting to 7 furlongs, he was a winner. Persuasion was half interesting, having had no chance from a poor high draw under a patient ride at Chester the other day. And Madame de Sevigné got a good record over 7 furlongs in handicap company on straight tracks, not including his seasonal debuts. Sorry, not including her seasonal debuts, I should say. 6th, 1st, and 2nd by half a length. So a short list of 4, but Physique much the strongest one of those 4 for me.
There you go, Dave. There's some further confidence given to you then about Physique, who's 130 heading the way with Bitano. Right, we move on to the 125 at Newbury now. This is the listed Carnarvon Stakes for the 3-year-olds over 6 furlongs. Now, we definitely have an interesting contest in this one, but I mean, Bitano, I've got this priced up very differently to a few, perhaps a rogue firms as well in here. Ides of March, 13 to 8, heading the way. 6 to 1 bar about the remainder, Andrew, headed by Symbol of Honour for next in. But Ides of March taking up a large percentage here.
Yeah, I think Aidan O'Brien did 3 runners in this race that I could see, and all were beaten. Small sample size, obviously, but Ides of March has got a good draw on previous evidence. In the last 10 years, if you'd bet every runner draw between stalls 1 and 5, you'd have found 9 winners from 50 bets, made a profit of £16.45 to a £1 stake at SP. If you just bet stalls 1 and 2 in the last 10 years, you'd have found 5 of the winners from 20 bets and made a profit of £29.25. Now, I've been through all the sort of sorting them in draw order. I could even make some sort of case for right there, right now at sort of 33 to 1 or bigger. But the one I came down on the side of was Andesite for Carl Burke coming out of stall 4. Now, fillies have done quite well in this race from a limited number of runners. And Carl Burke hasn't had many runners in the Carnarvon Stakes previously. Throughout his career, he's had 4 of them. Last year, he had the 13 to 2 winner and the 28 to 1 7th. In 2021, Spycatcher was 9 to 1, finished second to Creative Force, because Creative Force went on to win twice in Group 1 company that season. And go back to 2017, Simi was second by a head at 7 to 1. So small samples again, but I think it's encouraging that he's running Andesite here. He's sort of fairly unexposed, only had 3 runs, and it wasn't a bad run. I thought went 4th at Chelmsford on his comeback, because the 3 who beat him were all drawn on his inside. So I'll take a chance on him at a price. The other one I want to give a mention to is perhaps not so well drawn, Noble Champion, coming out of stall 11 of 11 for Ed Walker. Now, this is a fascinating one because he went into my tracker after finishing 7th to Jonkill in the Greenham. Strong draw by us that day. He had to be drawn high on the near side of the track. And he's done, although he was 7th, he was beaten less than 6 lengths after racing on the far side on what was obviously the slower ground. I was quite confident that he'd win at Goodwood next time, stepped up to the mile, travelled like a dream, but could only finish 3rd. Having stayed on that day, he's now coming back to 6 furlongs, which I wasn't completely sure how to compute that, but I'm going to have a saver on him at least, just in case I'm wrong about the draw, and he can live up to that Greenham form. So I'm with Andesite, but I will save on Noble Champion.
And a top price with Botano on both of those as well. Andesite at 20-1 and Noble Champion at 16-1. So opposite ends of the draw then, but Andesite with below draws to the 4 for Andrew. Dave.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty boring in this race because I find it very hard to get away from Ides of March. I did start doing some digging into the Eydon O'Brien stuff at Newbury. Like Andrew said, he's had 3 attempts in this race since 2018. Only one of them was a favourite. But the tricky thing with someone like an Eydon O'Brien is before the Lion and Winter did the juvenile course record at York, they were talking about Eydon O'Brien's record in the Acomb. And all I've been getting messaged this week is by people saying Eydon O'Brien's record at the Dante being 2 from 42, and then Well goes and absolutely dots up. So within that, I was not necessarily trying to put myself off. I was trying to give myself a reason not to think that Ides of March would be very short. Already a Group 3 winner. The comeback run a couple of weeks ago behind Whistlejacket was pretty good, considering it was on soft ground, which probably doesn't suit. Was it the Breeders' Cup? They went back to 5 furlongs, didn't they? When Frankie Dettori rode and was doing all the best work late. Like 6 furlongs is absolutely this horse's ideal, I think. Good ground is perfect for the horse as well. Obviously, it's Eydon O'Brien and it's Ryan Moore. And I think this is definitely a group horse in a listed race. Even Coward of the County and such were behind in that prep run recently, and Coward of the County is like a group winner as well. So I find it very difficult to get away from Ides of March at the front of the market. 13-8, I don't think is a terrible price, but there is some depth in it. And there's a few horses that have impressed at times as well. And obviously, with it being a sprint race, you need things to go your own way. So probably about tight enough at the front of the market. But instead of sitting this one out, I will say that Ides of March is my selection in the race.
There you go. Yeah, we don't like you to be sitting. So
I thought you were going to end with "Beware the Ides of March" there and go all Shakespearean on us.
If only. If Dave has that in his locker one of these days, yeah, that will be incredible. Dave's just shaking his head here in the background. No Shakespeare shall be outed. No iambic pentameter with your next revealing of your selections and your reasoning, Dave, at all?
No, I did play Macbeth in a school play once as well. So I should really remember lots of that stuff. I think it was only a small part that I had in it, and I don't think it was the whole
only a small part, only Macbeth.
No, but I just mean, I feel like it was like a 2-minute production. That's what it felt like in the time anyway.
There we go. Right, one day that might come to the fore. Who knows at this point? But Ides of March, 13-8 favourite, heading the way for that lethal combination of Eydon O'Brien and Ryan Moore. Right, the 140 at Newmarket, a 0-85 handicap for the 3-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Again, we're over the 7 furlongs here. Fondo Blanco, 5-2, heading the way with Botano, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, Fondo Blanco does look like a very worthy favourite in here. I'll come back to him in a second because Spirit of Leros was one that I think does look quite overpriced. There's only 3 places up for grabs with the 9 runners, which is fine, but sort of 16s, 20s, I think that horse is going to sit about for a while. There is a chance that it might get supported, though. His last handicap win was off a £1 lower mark. Well, the last handicap win when David Eydon was partnering the horse anyway. Looked in need of the run last time out, was picking up the pieces sort of behind tired horses, I would say, but was a little bit short of room. That last run was over 7.5 furlongs, and so I think the drop back to 7 furlongs will suit. Ground's fine, and like I said, the fact that David Egan's back on board after last time they paired up, they won, I just thought was a bit too big a price at 16s and 20s. But yeah, Fondo Blanco looks one of the better handicap bets of the entire weekend, I'd imagine. You go through bits of the form that's in there. His debut run, he was behind a horse. The winner won a handicap after that off of 50, but was getting £5 sex allowance. So the rating that Fondo Blanco run off of 85, just on that line of form alone, looks like it could be a winning enough mark. The 4th horse on that debut run was one of my favourite named horses, Bolognese, who hacked up in that Goffs 500 after that race. So the run when it was behind Fondo Blanco was probably a prep, but that horse was favourite for a listed race after, wasn't it? The Rockinge Stakes, I think it was. Beaten there, but is rated 99. And then again, using the Bolognese form, that horse was just behind Asterius, just behind Benevito prior. So I just think it looks really good. The breeding for Fondo Blanco, his dam was a 7 furlong winner. That's the only distance she won over. And there is hope about the sire as well, because 10 Sovereigns, I mean, you put up £10 last week, Kate, in that Victoria Cup, because the trip was right and he got unruly in the stalls, didn't he? But £10 was a course and distance winner at Newmarket. So I think the pedigree would suggest that this step up in trip's going to suit. And when you look at handicap debutants coming into these races as well, I think it just sort of stacks up that they run them over the trip that maybe isn't ideal for them, and then they do something different for the next time up. The couple of runs before as well, or the couple of runs since that maiden, so I should probably say, Ray Dawson took the ride when he beat Belgrave. That was on slower ground, but just got there on the line. And then the run he had at Doncaster a couple of weeks ago, or last month, was one where he almost got up on the line, like one of those ones where another day he might have just got his head in front. I thought that performance was pretty decent, and I expected him to have a higher opening mark than 85. So definitely warrants favouritism. Looks like he's got a good chance. The one thing I will just say is he's drawn out in 9, can be a little bit keen. So I think that's potentially the only thing that worries me a tiny bit in here. If he's out on the outside and he gets keen, whether like Ray Dawson's going to get him settled, or we have to try and put him in behind horses. Because I had that a bit last weekend where 2 horses I put up would just pull their arms out and just ruin their chances. So I want to temper my confidence with this horse in the fact that it was pretty bad last weekend. But Fondo Blanco looks like a good thing. Can I say that out loud?
Yeah, well, I mean, you have. So there you go. But yeah, like you say, looks well worth his place at the head of the market here for sure, doesn't he? There, Fondo Blanco, out in stall 9 though, so he is on the end of this 9-runner field in this 0 to 85 handicap. Andrew, who are you siding with?
I'm equally confident about a different horse in the race, who I think should be favourite, Art Market. 3 to 1 second favourite with Botano, behind 5 to 2 Fondo Blanco. Art Market's got a fantastic record on straight courses in handicap company. First, 7th, first. The 7th coming in a 14-runner field at Newbury, where they didn't go very quick. He did 3rd best of the closers, and it was on soft ground, which he didn't like. So give him good or faster ground. The straight 7 furlongs in handicap company. It's 3 from 3. It's William Haggis. It's Newmarket. What's not to like? I think he's going to run a stormer and probably win.
Okay, and probably win as well. So equal confidence in this race, but on different horses though for Andrew and for Dave as well.
Play them both.
Play them both. There you go. There's your reverse forecast as well then, that we've been talking about earlier on. So another 7 furlong handicap at Newmarket to go to war with. Right now we do have a competitive contest. Slightly disappointing with just the 10 runners in here, admittedly, but we have the London Gold Cup handicap, a heritage handicap for the 3-year-olds over 10 furlongs. But at least in terms of the betting, it does look an open enough contest. 11th for the field. Genealogy it is who heads the way here, Andrew.
Yeah, this is one of my favourite races of the flat season. It's one I wrote a piece about for GG early this week in my Andrew's Angles column, so available on the website. And you look at the roll of honour of this race in recent years. There's been some cracking horses. Green Moon in 2010 ended up winning multiple times in group company, including the Melbourne Cup. Alcazim, we talked about, trained by Roger Charlton, successful sire, bowed out with victory in the Group 1 Tattersalls Gold Cup at the Curragh. Time Test, also trained by Roger Charlton, won in 2015 off a mark of 93 and was rated 121 when winning in Group 2 company at York the following season. Communique was 84. He ended up winning twice at Group 2 level. Baybridge for Sir Michael Stout ended his career on 121 after wins in Group 1, Group 2, Group 3 company. Isra for the Gostons. And last year, King's Gambit, although he hasn't won in group company since, he's certainly not been out of place at that level. So it's been a cracking race. And I mean, the Charlton Yard in particular, Roger and now Harry, have done really well in this. And I think there's something like 5 from 6 in this race for a profit of £26 to £1 level stakes. So you're immediately drawn to Wave Rider coming out of stall 1. That's also been a positive. In the last 10 years, if you bet stalls 1, 2, and 3, you'd have found 7 winners from 42 bets and made a profit of 20 quid. Now, on the face of it, Wave Rider's form perhaps leaves him with a little bit to find, but he was only done a short head by Red Sand at Wolverhampton last time, and Red Sand was only beaten 3 lengths at York earlier this week off a mark of 90. and the third from that race as well, Jolly Roger, also ran in that same York handicap, and he was beaten 3 3/4 lengths off 88. So I think coming here off a mark of 83 from a good draw in a race that the stable has farmed over the years, even though he's got a hood on for the first time, I think I've got to be with Wave Rider.
Yeah, and he is a 6-1 shot as well. But talking about that good record for Harry Charlton and, like say, his father before him, then the Charltons farming this race. Yeah, the first time hood. Not to put you off then about Wave Rider at 6-1. Dave, that's a plenty there from Andrew.
Yeah, just copy and paste. It's the same argument, the same case, and it's the same horse in the end. I like looking back through these ones. King's Gambit, sorry, was like one of the handicap good things of the whole season last year, and he duly obliged in this. And it was one of them where I started to look at it thinking, well, it's just handicap debutants, isn't it? So maybe that'll whittle the field down, but there's only 2 horses in this race that aren't handicap debutants. Then I was looking a little bit about trips that they'd run out in the past as well, because Wave Rider has only been over 7 furlongs, and this is obviously 1 mile 2, to see whether that was a positive. There's only one winner that hadn't raced further than 7 furlongs, but that was Roger Charlton's time test back in the day. So, I mean, coming from that yard, they'll be able to do it with any horses at any trips, won't they? It's the first time Hood's a tiny bit of a niggle, though, for the fact that it's easy to make the case for the yard. And he's been gelded, isn't he? But when he ran at Yarmouth last year, it was soft ground, which you'd have to use that as the excuse for why he didn't run very well. But he was well backed, but he did sort of weaken in the finish. His comeback run this season was, I think, just fine. He looks like he's a horse that will benefit from stepping up in trip. But it's just the whole argument that Andrew's making about the fact that, the yard are doing well. He's got a very good draw in there. There's already been a little bit of money for him as well. He opened up at 8 with Patano. He's into 6-1 at the time of the recording as well. Yeah, I think he's fine. He did. I think even on his debut, didn't he run behind Bay City Roller as well? He's like 110 rated now. So it's one of those horses that he should be miles better than his mark. But this is the type of race where probably 5 or 6 are ahead of their marks too. But at the prices, and even if he was a bit short, I still would. But yeah, Wave Rider would be my choice in the race too.
Yeah, and as you say, he has been backed in 8-1 into 6-1 with Patano, and also, yes, did finish behind Bay City Roller, the 110 rated horse on his debut, and finishing 4th gelded after that first time hood. But another one then for the Charltons in the super competitive Heritage Handicap. Right, the 2:15 at Newmarket is up next. This is a 0-85 handicap, another one for the 4-year-olds and over a mile for this one. Now we have 2-1 the field, Dave, so I'll let you get first stab at this.
Yeah, another one that I did before it was priced up, and another one that I'm disappointed with the price that it's at. I think I'm just probably in a bad mood today. I just want some maybe value losers or just some value out there. But I found it very hard to make a case against Classic Encounter. Class 4 it, run twice this season in Class 3s, run well. Penultimate start was behind Austrian Theory, who just ran well at Chester the other day. And the last run was like it was a fine performance, like as in, not fine as in fantastic, but like it was fine, not necessarily much more than that. Did seem to idle a little bit on the far side at this track. There was another horse that was just on like sort of the inside, so coming towards the sand side, that stopped him coming across, and I think that maybe made a little bit of a difference to getting maybe slightly better ground, because the winner came from the near side, cut across, and was just sort of flying in the finish. But this is a horse that has hung in the past as well, and I wonder whether being nearer the rail was what kept the horse on a straight line towards the end. So I genuinely do think this horse has got a proper chance near. The market obviously agrees with us at the time of recording, being installed as a relatively short price favourite. Like I say, it's dropping class. I'd fancy him to be the winner of the race, but I don't know that 9-4 would be enough to lure me in. But I think I'm just in a bad mood this week. Classic Encounter is the selection nonetheless.
I'll make you into a worse mood then. 2-1. Yeah, a Classic Encounter with Patano as well. So ideal for Dave then with Classic Encounter in this one. Difficult to see past. Andrew.
Yeah, tricky race for this one. Another sort of fairly modest sort of Class 4 handicap. I mean, Newmarket's 3 races for ITV are a bit samey, aren't they? We've got 2 7-furlong handicaps, 1 mile handicap. Classic Encounter might be the pace angle in the race. I'm a bit worried about Store 1. If they come across to the near side in the earlier races, whether that's going to leave them with a bit of a disadvantage. I can still see the case that that red car form worked out well with the Austrian Theory, going close at Chester. And I think the third from that race came out and beat Cirque one of my picks next time out. The one I'm going to put up though is coming out of stall 3, which is Good Morning Alex for the Baronyard. Now this one's got a very good strike rate in his career, 7 wins from 17 starts. If you only look at his handicap runs over a mile or further, that becomes 7 wins from 13 starts. And if you chuck out his 3 runs in Class 3 handicaps, it then becomes 7 from 10. So a mile plus handicap company, Class 4 or lower. Good Morning Alex, 7 wins from 10 starts and a profit of £42 10p to a £1 level stake at SP. So I think he's going to run a solid race here. But I do respect Dave's pick, Classic Encounter. Maybe there's actually a forecast for you.
There you go. There's another forecast teed up then. Classic Encounter 2-1 heading the way, and Good Morning Alex at 6-1 with Bitano. Right, we move on to the big one now, the Group 1 Lockinge Stakes for the 4-year-olds and over a mile. I can't tell you how many times I had to tee up this race on Sky Sports Racing yesterday for the amount of ETs and things I've had. So I feel like I've had the absolute run through this race already, but Rosalian on his reappearance is heading away at 7-4 with Bitano. Dancing Gemini bidding for his hat-trick. Interesting that Ryan Moore takes the ride. Notable Speech lashes 2,000 guineas here at 4-1 next in, and 11-2 bar about the remainder. So Andrew, the Group 1 Lockinge, who wins it?
Yeah, belting race. Good to see Rosalian back. But you know, he was beaten first time out last term, albeit in the 2,000 guineas, obviously. Behind Notable Speech. So if he's going to be vulnerable, perhaps it'll be from here. And historically as well, certainly in recent years, you want to be drawn a little bit lower. So we'll see how the earlier races ride. It's if that near side rail is no good, then perhaps he's on the wrong part of the track. Dancing Gemini on I thought it was short enough from stall 1 as well. Might be a little bit exposed towards the far side. So I came down on the side of a couple of fillies who have more than held their own in this race, despite small sample size. They tend to beat a higher percentage of their rivals in this race than the colts do. And the 2 in question, Fallen Angel for Carl Burke, coming out of stall 5, and Tamfana from stall 6. Now, Tamfana is a horse we've talked about quite a bit in this pod previously, I think. She was a real eye catcher, went 4th in the 1,000 guineas last year. She was 33-1 behind El Malka. There was a massive bias that day to horses who came from off the pace and were drawn high. And the first 3 drawn 16, 15, 11, all ridden patiently. Tamfana was on the far side from stall 4, did best of her group. You look at some of the other horses on that far side, they came out and run well, did well since. See the Fire, who's favourite for a race at York today. She was 12th from stall 2 that day. Now, Fallen Angel also ran in that race. She was favourite for 1,000 guineas last year, but had a little chance after a prominent ride from stall 5. So, although I'm going back a little way to that 1,000 guineas form last year, I thought both Fallen Angel and Tamfana could run well in this. It's Fallen Angel perhaps the better value at the bigger price.
Yeah, 14-1 with Bitano, Fallen Angel, and now actually out to 11-2 from 5-1 for Tamfana as well. But the filly angle for Andrew, Dave, I didn't see that one coming. What's your angle?
I mean, I'm struggling to find an angle. It's like a proper good Lockinge, isn't it? I remember, was it last year that Audience won the race, did it, instead of, was it in Spiral? But Audience was actually nibbled as well towards the off. So this is I feel like, especially with these top tier races, I feel like we should be able to work out who's going to win it. But then the betting does seem to tell us a lot more nearer the time. The way that this has been stacked up on the prices, like I can get why Rosalian's favourite, but I mean 7-4 does feel awfully short. It was a respiratory infection he had, wasn't it, that ruled him out of the Sussex Stakes last year, but we didn't get to see him and Notable Speech go at it again. They're sort of 1 each at the moment, aren't they? Charlie Appleby was quite funny when he was talking about Notable Speech, just got a good gallop at Newmarket, but saying about how this is a home match for Rosalian. He did his homework at Newbury, and obviously when Notable Speech got the better of him at Newmarket, that would have been home match for Notable Speech. But I think Notable Speech is, I don't want to say he's an underrated horse, because obviously we know how good he is, but I just think his Ascot run maybe got blown out of proportion. He's got excuses since, because he's been running on ground that just doesn't suit him. The only thing that still sits a little bit uncomfortably is that run at Ascot, because he was sent off 6-4 favourite that day to beat Rosalian. Rosalian obviously won the race and was a very impressive winner, but Notable Speech just clearly wasn't himself for the fact that he came out of Goodwood after. There were still question marks about whether you could put a line for that Ascot run or whether there was actually something up with him. And again, he was another one that was really weak in the market, but just on the off, there was a bit of money for him, and he actually hacked up that day. So from a form perspective, and especially analysing this race, if they'd have gone against each other at Goodwood, we might see where the pecking order lies. But as far as I'm concerned, I would say that Notable Speech, in my opinion, is just as good a horse as Rosalian. And as Andrew touched on, Rosalian maybe did need that run at the start of the season last year, although I suppose coming second in the Guineas is still a pretty good performance first time up, isn't it? So I think there's a bit too much of a price discrepancy in there. Dancing Gemini, I put up a couple of the runs back. I'm annoyed I went off him at Sandown, because quite a few people I was reading and listening to were saying that he wouldn't be suited to Sandown. He hacked up in the finish, didn't he? He was well on top. And obviously Ryan Moore's phoned up to say, I want to ride this horse in the Lockinge. So I sort of thought after his penultimate run where I did fancy him, because he was so good then, I was like, I'm just going to keep backing this horse every time he runs for the rest of the season until he gets found out. But again, like 3-1 about him when I see 4-1 Notable Speech just doesn't quite sit right with me, because I think as much as Dancing Gemini is an improving horse, I feel like I know that Notable Speech is better than him. So I don't really know where I'm sat at the moment. Like I said, I might want to see how the market goes. I think Notable Speech would be the one that I would definitely side with. It's interesting on Batano's site. I was looking at this while Andrew was giving his selections as well, but they're doing betting without Rosalian in there. And I wonder whether that might be the way to do this, because Rosalian was obviously very good. Like I said, had that respiratory issue, but that's not a problem for him. He's all sorted now, and he's been prepping really well for it. So he could just be the standout horse in here. Notable Speech is 12-5, so about 5-2 in old man money. They're doing each way a fifth of the odds 3 places. Tamfana's 100-30 for one of Andrew's selections, and Fallen Angels 8-1. So I don't know. I think I'll like definitely play Notable Speech in the race. I might take some insurance and back him in the without Rosalian market, but for the purpose of this, 4-1 Notable Speech to win the Lockinge.
It's just that carrot being dangled, isn't it? That 4-1, where I genuinely, for all that, as I say yesterday on Sky Sports Racing, I was teeing up this race time and time again and reflecting on it from BTs, looking at the betting. And I thought, right, by the time I finish this shift before doing this podcast, I'm definitely going to have formed my opinion. I haven't. I really haven't. Every time I go back into it, I have a new thought on it. It's a great race, though. But yeah, 7-4 about Rosalian. It's probably about right in terms of the price, but yeah, that 4-1 about Notable Speech looks ever so tempting. And as you say, fair play to Batano. They have already got the betting without Rosalian market form. Dancing Gemini 15-8 heading the way in that one. Notable Speech at 12-5. 130 Tamfana. 8-1 Fallen Angel, and 12-1 bar about the remainder in the without Rosalian market. So fascinating Lockinge. Cannot wait to see it unfold. Right, that is the end of the scheduled races. So Dave, I'll go back to you, please. Anything from anywhere else?
No, as you can tell from my analysis of most of the races, I struggled to get through the 7 we've got on TV. But there's more greyhounds at Toaster on Friday and Saturday for the second round of the Grand Derby. So make sure you're checking that out, as well as the horses this weekend, please.
Up the dogs. There you go. Andrew, anything from anywhere else?
Yeah, just a couple to mention in the 420 at Newbury. Our old friend Witch Hunter was third in the Lockinge last year.
Yeah.
And you look at his record at Newbury on anything other than soft ground, second by a nose, third to audience, first and second by a neck. So I thought he had a sort of each way shout in that 420 a mile handicap. The more interesting one is Fantastic Spuds. I mean, Epictetus. This is one we talked about last year on more than one occasion. Has left the yard of Johnny G, and now rocks up for Jamie Osborne at the first time. We saw Osborne land the Victoria Cup with a stable switch last week. Hickory winning out, I think, 22-1 on his first start since leaving James Fanshawe. And I thought, given his good record when fresh, that at 20-1, 25-1, something like that, I think Epictetus might be one to side with to small money in the 420.
On his reappearance as well, yeah, likely to be a big price in that, as I'm currently looking. But I haven't got it priced up just yet, but expecting decent prices about the pair of those two. And of course, Jamie Osborne will be sending over one of his stable stars stateside, Heart of Honour, for the Preakness on Saturday. So Sappy Osborne's heading over there. William Carver takes the ride on Epictetus. Right, Andrew, back to you, please, for your nap of the weekend.
I'm maybe taking on Dave head to head here. I'm going for Art Market in the 140 at Newmarket.
Oh, okay, Dave. Are you going to be taking him on?
No, absolutely not. I've not been in the best form this week. So in Eydon O'Brien we trust. Ide of March, I think well deserves to be the price that he is in the Canadian Stakes. I do not see him getting beat.
Yeah, has really shortened up as well than Ides of March. I think it was about 13 to 8, if I remember correctly, then with Bitano as well. So best of luck to you, lads, with your naps and all of your other bets this weekend. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for watching, and to our sponsors, Bitano. Enjoy the racing this weekend, and we'll speak to you again next week.